What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with the last round of Chess Zone's May Action Tournament. Going into round 4, I have a score of 1.5 out of 3, where we got a lucky draw against Arturo, where we were positionally worse for a good bit of the middle game, but then we managed to find some nice defensive moves and liquidate into a drawn queen and pawn endgame, where we eventually agreed to a draw. And going into round 4, I'm paired against Brad Lathrop. Longtime viewers of the channel will know that Brad has appeared on the channel quite a few times. We've always had these very memorable, chaotic, crazy, wacky, etc. games that are just really unforgettable and makes Brad a unique opponent compared to everyone else, because we always tend to have the most entertaining games, and today's game is no different, and it will surely not disappoint you. It was my favorite game of the tournament, and it features some insane lines of the engine and a crazy endgame as well. So there's just a lot to unpack here and go over. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight in here. Also, the engine's off for this video. I've been having some technical difficulties with the engine on for some reason. Like, the moves are kind of lagging. So I'm just going to verbally tell you guys what the eval is at certain moments of the game, just so the video can be better quality, so hopefully that's fine. So we're just going to go with that. So here I begin the game with e4, as always. Brad goes with e5. I go with knight f3, knight c6, and here I go into my prep and I play the Scotch game with d4. You guys might know that I play this opening pretty commonly as white, and I often gambit the pawn, which you'll see here. After Brad takes, I do not recapture, and I instead play the move bishop c4, all part of my prep. And this is basically the gambit, where you prioritize quick development in hopes of getting the pawn back later with a development advantage or something else in favor of you over black. So here, Brad plays one of the main moves, which is knight f6. And online, I like to play castles and knight to c3 in something called the Knock-Manson Gambit, which is a very sharp and tactical opening that's very unorthodox. But if black knows what they're doing, then white does not benefit from this at all. So it's not something to try in classical, so therefore I do not play it. And instead of castles and knight c3, after knight takes e4, I play the move e5, very solid move. It's perfectly acceptable, in fact. You're attacking the knight, and really for black, I only see two replies. Either knight to g4 to attack the pawn on e5 again, or the move d5 to counter my bishop on c4 and gain control of the center. But here, Brad does neither of those moves and plays knight e4, which is a move according to the engine, but it's something I'm not really familiar with. And here, I already make a mistake out of my prep. I play the move c3, which, if we had the engine on, it would say it's around minus 0.8. But, again, I have some technical difficulties, which I'll try to resolve soon. Here, the best move, according to the engine, was to castle, followed by bishop e7, rook e1, d5, en passant, and just sort of winning the pawn back in a slower manner. This way, you're more or less equal. It's around zeros on the eval, but here you're not worse. But with the move c3, I'm already minus 0.7, 0.8. And this is not good, because why am I misplaying my own opening, right? So Brad, actually, to his credit, finds the best move, which is d5. If he had taken the pawn on c3, which I was sort of hoping he'd do, this actually just blunders the game because of the move queen d5, and the engine says it's around like +3 here, because black is losing a piece here due to the threat of f7 checkmate and the hanging knight on e4. So black would have to give up the knight in order to stop mate. So Brad did not do that. Brad probably saw that, and he played the move d5, countering my bishop. And here I think for a few minutes about what to do. Again, I'm slightly worse here, like minus 0.8. And here, after a few minutes of thought, I decide to take en passant. Brad takes with the knight, which also attacks my bishop on c4. So I don't really have time to capture the pawn back on d4. Instead, I play the move queen e2 check. My idea was to defend the bishop, check the king, and after black blocks, I would take on d4 and recover my pawn, essentially. And that's pretty much what happens. Brad plays bishop e7. The best move is queen e7. Knight takes d4. We get a few trades in the center. And here, Brad castles. And let's just take a look at this position for a second. Even though the material is even, Brad still has an advantage because, for one, he has the bishop pair, which tends to be slightly advantageous over like a bishop and knight or two knights, just because they can control more space on an open board. And number two, I have an isolated queen's pawn on d4. Meanwhile, Brad's pawns are all together, and he doesn't really have any weaknesses to target. So for that reason, that's why Brad is slightly better in this position. So here, after castles, I play knight c3, just continuing my development. Again, Brad still has the minus 0.8 advantage, roughly. Here, Brad plays the move bishop to f6 to attack my pawn on d4. Here, I develop and defend with bishop to e3. And here, Brad plays the very natural move bishop e6, countering my queen on c4 and developing with tempo. So here I have to move my queen somewhere. And I choose to go to d3 to keep the pawn defended. And here, Brad plays the very natural c5 to add some pressure on the pawn because the pawn's pinned. And here, the engine actually suggests to play the move d5, something I don't really understand. Apparently, if I play d5, it's only minus 0.2, 0.3-ish if we had the engine on. So the engine says I should have played d5, and sure, it looks like I'm losing a pawn here after queen takes c3, queen takes d5, and castles. And what the engine's saying is, hey, even though you're down a pawn, it's opposite color bishops, and more than likely than not, you're going to end up going into a drawn endgame. But you're human and you don't want to lose a pawn, so here I play rook d1, and I go back to that position we had, the eval we had earlier, like minus 0.8-ish, 0.9, and Brad is retaining his advantage here with after rook d1 by taking on d4, and after bishop takes d4, here we get an absolutely disgusting line, and in fact, it's actually more entertaining to find the best move because you don't actually see it. If you want to pause and try to figure out the best move here, I invite you to do so, but you're probably not going to find it, but you can go ahead and try it, because the moves you're going to see are absolutely ridiculous, and if someone were to play this against you, you would call the TD and report them for cheating, and because this is just so bot-like that no human below the rating of like 2,500 should be able to find this, because it's just truly disgusting. Alright, if you're back, the best move here for black is bishop takes a2. Now you might stare at that move and scratch your head and say, doesn't that just hang a bishop? What are you doing? And I would say, that's exactly what I thought, and I don't know what Stockfish is on. And we're going to look at this together. So obviously, we want to see the point after knight takes a2 and how black is just not losing a piece here. So here, black can play two moves to keep the advantage. It's around minus 0.9. But, so first of all, we'll look at queen a5 check. Apparently, Stockfish is suggesting the move b4. Believe me, it's not suggesting to give back the knight and retain the minus 0.9 advantage, roughly, for black. But we're human, and we want to see what happens if white were to hold on to the piece with knight to c3. That's what we want to find out, because white naturally wants to hang on to the extra material. Engine suggests to play the move rook on a to d8, and this is just adding an extra layer of pressure to the pinned bishop on d4. But what about a move like queen c4? Just unpinning and getting out of the way. It seems like you've solved all your problems. The engine here suggests to trade on d4 after this. Here this position is like minus 2, minus 2.3, something like that. I remember looking at this position. So after trading on d4, rook takes d4, rook takes d4, queen takes d4, suddenly the move rook e8 check is very deadly. It's around minus 4 here, if I remember correctly. And the problem is that after rook e8 check, your king doesn't have too many great places to go. If your king steps on d2 or d1, black plays the move rook d8, and you're actually pinned. Your queen's pinned to your king, and you're going to have to lose material. Your knight's pinned, so you can't block with that. And if you try going to f1, thinking you're getting away, Well, think again, because black plays the move queen a6 check, and your king's actually getting checkmated. After you retreat to g1, black plays rook e1, and the game's over. So you can't go into that. Alternatively, this is the other move black could play. Black could play the move bishop takes d4 here instead of playing queen a5, but they play it next turn. So they sort of invert the move order a little bit. So after bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, black plays the move queen a5 check. Again, the engine's suggesting b4, but we want to see what happens if knight c3. And this sort of transposes into the other line, but it's way more disgusting in my opinion. Again, black plays the move rook on a to d8 to hit the queen. And the queen really only has one square to go to. The queen has to defend the rook on d1, and I'll explain why in just a second. So the best move for white here is queen g4. And the reason why you have to defend the rook is because if black plays the move rook e8 check here, you can go to f1, king f1, and because the queen's defending the rook, you don't have to worry about any sort of back rank mates, because after rook takes d1, queen takes d1, you're fine, and you don't have to worry about back rank. Versus if the queen wasn't there, then the knight would have to take, and that would open up the back rank. So that's why queen g4 is best. Anyway, the whole point of black's next few moves are to try to remove the queen from that diagonal by any means necessary. So what do I mean by that? Here, the only winning move for black is h5. And here, it's like -3, I think, if I remember correctly. You're trying to kick the queen away from the diagonal. So white might be persistent and try to stay on the diagonal with queen f3, but then comes rook to f to e8 check. You move to f1, black plays the move queen a6 check. But the difference between that position and the last position is that it's not mate in 4, or mate, for white, like in the last one, because the queen is defending the back rank. Remember, if rook takes d1, the queen takes, not the knight. So here, it looks like white's out of the woods, and black is just out of firepower. But actually, thanks to the engine being off, it's cool to figure out how black is winning, because the answer isn't really given to you. And here, the engine suggests the absolutely savage move, rook to d3. A move that is just so disgusting for so many reasons. Number one, it's just cleanly sacrificing a rook. And the funny thing is that you can't even take it, because if queen takes d3, black trades queens. After you take back on d3, black plays rook e1 checkmate and wins the game. And if you take back with the rook, then black plays that immediately. And you don't really have too many squares to go to with your queen to stay defending the rook on d1. The only square you really have is queen takes h5. But then black could play the move g6, kick your queen again, and then f5. And then after all those moves, you have to part ways with your queen. You have to play the move queen f3. That's what the engine's suggesting. It's around -2.9 in that position for favoring black. And it's just bad news for you. But there's no way a human would have voluntarily saw all that, or even considered bishop takes a2 without seeing all those moves, which is just purely ridiculous. So Brad instead plays the move bishop to g4, attacking my rook. And here I was thinking about playing the move f3 with the idea to play king f2, rook e1, and castling manually by hand. And that's kind of what my idea was, because after rook e8 check by Brad, I play the move king f2, and my idea is to play rook h to e1, tuck my king on g1, and castle by hand. So here, Brad plays bishop h5. I decide to trade bishops on f6. He takes back. I play queen d4 because I'm kind of wanting to prevent the move queen h4 check, which could be a bit of a nuisance in the future. And also, by trading queens, my king would be a bit closer into the endgame, to the center, which could be a bit advantageous down the road. So it's just a good idea to offer a queen trade here. Brad actually doesn't accept it. The best move is actually not to accept it. I think queen c6 was the best move here, if I remember correctly. But queen a6 is fine too. So we keep the queens on the board. I play rook h to e1. Brad plays the move h6, just creating a left for his king. The eval here is pretty much equal. It's like plus 0.1 or 2, maybe even zeros. I can't really remember for sure. So here, I play the move a3 with the idea that I want to move my knight somewhere because my knight was defending the pawn, and I want to make it move somewhere else to be more flexible. So here Brad plays the move bishop to g6. I play knight d5, and my knight's actually pretty strong in that square. I'm threatening to come into c7 to fork black's pieces, maybe even knight e7 to trade the bishop off. So here, it's still around equal as before. The engine hasn't really shot up too much. So here Brad takes on e1, I take back. And here Brad finds the nice move, queen d3, offering a trade. And I decide to accept because after we trade, I play the move rook e7. Apparently, it went from like plus 0.6 to plus 0.2. It's basically equal here. But I thought I was better here because, you know, the rook on the second rank is really good because it kind of keeps the opponent passive in defending their pawns. So here, Brad plays the move b6, just to save the pawn, of course. And here I play the move rook d7 with the idea to line up on the bishop and threaten some discoveries later down the road if possible. If Brad plays the move bishop f5 here to attack my rook, then knight e7 check would win the bishop because it's a fork. So Brad has to play the move bishop to b5 to get out of harm's way with the bishop. Here I play the move rook c7, just keeping the rook on the second rank and sort of keeping black a bit passive here. So Brad thinks he can unravel a bit. He plays the move rook d8, getting on the open file, and he thought he was attacking the knight and gaining tempo, and after my knight would move, he would, you know, play a5 or something, save his a-pawn, and sort of get more active. But here the engine is about +1, because I find this really nice tactic. I invite you to pause if you want. I found a nice move here that makes the engine say about +1, and I'm happy I found it. The move here, if you're back, is rook to c8. And this is a really cool move because I'm attracting the rook to c8, and I'm also pinning the rook to the king so the rook can't take my knight. Now you might say, what's so good about playing rook c8? Isn't it just going to be a trade of rooks? Well, here's what you'll notice. After rook takes c8, knight e7 check, the obvious point, king f8, knight takes c8, you'll notice why it's +1 now. I'm actually forking two of black's pawns, and Brad's going to end up losing a pawn here by force. Whether it be the a-pawn or the b-pawn. If he pushes the a-pawn, I take the b-pawn, and he can't defend the a-pawn in any way. So Brad's losing a pawn, which is why it's +1. So here, Brad played the move bishop to a4. The best move was bishop to d7, apparently. And here I obviously take. And here, actually, I thought I blundered. I thought I blundered because Brad should have played, we actually discussed after the game, Brad should have played the move bishop to d7. And what you'll notice by playing this move is that my knight is actually dominated. My knight cannot retreat to any of the 3 squares you see highlighted because the bishop controls them all. So with that in mind, I thought that Brad might, you know, bring his king over here, and it might take a few moves, but my knight might have just been trapped and won because of that. But the engine says I'm still fine here after king e3, king e7, king d4, king d6, king c4, and I can save my knight with to b5. It's around +1.5 here if my memory serves right. But this would have been the best try for Brad to try to get back in the game. Instead, Brad plays the move king e8, and this is around a +3 position for white, maybe even +4, because this is not the correct idea. Brad lets my knight get out, attack his b-pawn, and now I'm in the driver's seat to win here because, well, my knight is free, and I have an extra pawn, and this is just totally winning. So here, Brad plays b5 to save the pawn. We activate our kings. He attacks my knight. I play knight to d6 to hit his f-pawn. He defends. I play check to force him to defend again with king f6. And here, I play the move knight to d4. It's, again, like a +4, +5 position. I'm totally winning because I'm straight up threatening right next move to trap the bishop with b3. Like, this would just straight up trap the bishop. So Brad has to play the move b4 to give his bishop some room to escape. Now, I thought the best move was at first to trade pawns, and Stockfish agrees with me. It says I should have taken the pawn on b4, even though having the double pawns, but I still would be better, much better. But here I play the move b3, and my advantage went to like plus 2.5 from like plus 5. I'm still winning, but this wasn't the cleanest way to go. I play b3 before taking the pawn, bishop d7, but then I don't even take the pawn, funnily enough. My thought process was to play the move a4 and say, look, I'm going to go knight to c2 next move, knight takes b4 because your pawn's in the dark square and you can't defend it. And that was my thought process, to be up 2 pawns versus 1. Now, I'm still winning, but the engine, if it worked, would say that I'm misplaying this slightly. So here, Brad played the move king e5, I play knight to c2, and the problem is that Brad can hit my own pawn with bishop e6, and it's going to end up being a trade. So that's what happens. We get knight takes b4, bishop takes b3, and I'm still winning according to the engine. It's around plus 3 here, but I did let up some of the advantage. So I play the move a5 here, just advancing my passed pawn. I thought this is still winning. It is. But here Brad plays the move king d6. I play king d4, and I'm just advancing forward and trying to push black's king back into a passive spot. And maybe I will distract black's pieces and try to win the pawns on the king side. So here Brad plays the move bishop to e6. I play a6. And here I'm straight up threatening the queen in 2 moves, so black has to guard against that. He plays bishop to c8. If the stockfish were working, stockfish would say the best move is a7 here. But I kind of wanted to keep my pawn defended, and I didn't want to risk losing it. So that's why I didn't push. And instead, I play the move king c4 with the idea to bring my king up to b5 and b6. And here Brad plays the very mysterious move h5. And when I saw h5, I wasn't sure what he was doing. I thought he would almost certainly play king c7, king b8, and try to stop my pawn. But h5 just looked like a totally random move. But it's actually going to turn out to be a very genius move later down the road, and you're going to see why. So I go with my plan, king b5, and he pushed again, and I still didn't understand what he was doing over there. So I play the move king b6, and here the engine drops down to plus 1. This apparently is not the right move. It's because Brad sacrifices the bishop for the pawn. He plays the move bishop takes a6, and even though I am up a piece here, the engine says it's only plus 1.5 here. It's not that winning for white. I mean, it's winning for white, but you got to work. It's not really that obvious how to win. And it's because after king e5, even though the engine dubs it as a mistake, it's actually pretty hard to find how to win, because if you look at black's king is going to go here, f4, e3, f2, and he's going to get to my pawns. And if I don't do something accurate, Brad's going to get back in the game and even might win the game, because he might win all my pawns. So because Brad's king is so active, I have to find the correct maneuvering to get back in the game. And there actually are 2 moves that do that, and I unfortunately missed them both. So the first move that I could have played, not actually that crossed my mind, was king c5, to get the king active, But I was worried about king f4, king d4, h3. The only winning move here is g3 to keep the pawns connected. If I had taken, that would have shattered my pawn's connectivity, and that would have made it a draw. You're just going to have to believe me on this. King takes f3. The only winning move here is knight to c5. It's around plus 5 here, but only if you find this continuation. If Brad plays the move king g2, it looks like he's going to win your pawns and move out of the way to queen is h-pawn, but I get there just in time. I play king e3, he takes, and I imprison his king on f2. This is really cool stuff. I imprison his king and pawn on h2 and h3, and Brad only can move 2 of his pawns, and somehow my knight, pawn, and king team up in such a way that put black in zugzwang, and because black's king and pawn are stuck, that's how I'm winning. You're just going to have to take my word on that. Also, I could have played the move knight to c7, which, even though the engine calls it the mistake, it's still winning. It's because if king f4, I play knight d5 check, I check the king, and I guard against the e3 square where black could infiltrate. So here Brad plays king d4. I have to play the move knight to e8 here, the only move again. King e3, knight takes g7, king f2. I have to play the move knight f5 here. King takes g2, knight takes h4, king takes g2, and that again the only move knight f5 to defend the pawn on d4 once black attacks it. So a lot of only moves here. You have to be very precise. Also, instead of taking on g7, you could have played the move king c5, and this would have transposed into the same line where I imprison the king on f2 and just win with my knight and pawn. So I could have played either of those moves, but instead of that, I played the move knight to b4. And again, if Brad goes to king f4, it's a mistake because I play knight to d5 check, and I prevent the king from invading down the board to e3. I force him back up, and then I bring my king, and that's how I'm winning. But Brad only has one drawing move, and he finds it. He plays the move king d4, and here it's totally drawn, if the engine worked. It's totally drawn here, and here I'm actually kind of worried that I could lose because black is so close to getting my pawns. So here the best try to keep the game going was f4. This is still drawn, but it makes it much harder to draw for black. Brad only move to draw is the move g6. You're just going to have to take my word for it. But again, if Brad plays the natural king e3, we go into the same line where I imprison his king and he can't make any progress. So I could have tried f4, but instead of that, I play knight c6 check. He goes king e3. I'm trying to win black's pawns, so that way they can't make any counterplay. That was my thought process. So I play knight e5, countering his f-pawn. He plays king f2. I take on f7. He takes on g2. I play knight to g5, defending my f-pawn. He takes on h2, and here I was actually worried that I could lose the game because black is really close to queening and having me throw the game. But I'm still drawing here. I play king c5 to get my king closer to the action. He plays king g3, king to d4, and here if he played the move h3, it would have been a really easy draw because I would have sacrificed on h3. He takes back, and the g and f pawns cancel out, and it's an easy draw. But here Brad makes my life a lot harder. Plays the move king f4, and I have to find only one knight move to keep the game drawn. And you guys can pause here and figure it out. This is kind of cool why the engine's off. It doesn't tell you the answer. Here the only drawing move, and thankfully I find it, is knight to h3 check. I was first thinking about knight e6 check with the idea to fork the king and the pawn. But after king takes f3, knight takes g7, h3, my knight is in a really awkward position and I actually can't stop the pawn, funnily enough. So I had to play the move knight h3 check here. Thankfully I find it, and it's only like 10 minutes on the clock. Here Brad takes on f3. Again, the only move to draw, and I find it, is king e5. Getting closer to the pawns and getting the king more active. Brad plays king g3. I play knight to g5. He attacks my knight. Again, the only move is knight e4, because if h3 happens, I play knight f2 check. I fork the king and the pawn. I sacrifice, and then I go king f5, king g6, and I get to black's g-pawn before black can do anything about it. I'll let you guys work that out. So instead of pushing, I think Brad saw that. He's trying to be the most resilient defense. He plays the move g5. And here, there are a few moves that draw. You can play knight f6 check, which is what I did in the game. You can also play king f6, like this. But this move is a lot harder to hold the draw, because after h3, you don't take on g5, because h2 comes. Now you might say, what about knight e4? If black queens, you fork and you draw. But instead of promoting, black plays king f3, hits your knight, and you're in a very bad spot, and you can't stop black from queening. So again, king f6 would have held the draw here, but it would have been a lot harder to save the game. So here I play the move knight f6 check. Also, I should mention knight takes g5 doesn't work to sacrifice, because this is a losing king and pawn endgame. Black shoulders you, and you're going to not stop the pawn. So here, I play the move knight f6 check, still drawing. Brad plays king g3. I go king f5 to get closer to the pawns. And here I knew it was a draw because I'm just going to plant my knight on g4 and be ready to sack the knight for the h-pawn. And once the king takes back, I'll take the g-pawn. And that's pretty much what happened. Brad pushed. I played knight g4. He plays king h4. And I just toggle my knight back and forth. He might have repeated 3 times. I'm not sure. But eventually, I sacrifice on h2. He takes back. And after king takes g5, finally got a draw here. We escaped at the skin of our teeth. Really risky endgame here. And great defense by Brad for coming up with this h4, h3 idea and getting the king into the game. So just shows that it's not over when you think it's over. And I was a little bit complacent because I thought that endgame was winning for me since I had an extra knight. But look what happened. I barely got the draw. And if you look at the accuracy here, it is true that I was winning. But again, I misplayed it, and we got a draw. And I had an accuracy of 89.8. He had an accuracy of 90.1. So good game overall, but again, I could have won if I had played the accurate endgame moves. And this concludes the May Action Tournament. We end with a score of 2 out of 4. Kind of an okay performance, but I'm hoping to gain some rating back in some future events. And I'll post the rating results in the description, but I'm going to say that I lost 1 rating point, which is barely anything. We go from 1950 to 1949, which is negligible. We'll get back up there. And I had fun with this tournament, and if you like content like this and you like this game, let me know in the comments. Hopefully the engine will not cause any technical difficulties in the next recaps. But until then, stay safe. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. Let me know what you thought of the game. And yeah, have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.